no eyes was for you all to give us a game plan, some action plans that we can begin to look at as a ministry. I didn't tell you, but you need a representative to come up and speak and give us your suggestions. One of you all can make notes of these suggestions. I would greatly appreciate it. So the first group is strengths. How can we take advantage of our strengths? So who's ever presenting, can you come up real quick? Let's get through this, guys, very shortly. About right there is good. Yeah.
All right, so in group one, we had a list of a lot of good strengths that the church displays, but there were a few things that my group felt really adamant about. One of the things were preparation.
And as far as preparation, we came up with the idea to build upon preparation is our marketing. And marketing, it doesn't just include one person, it includes all of us. And so we all need to be the word of mouth and the voice for the church. So marketing is a huge thing. Also in reaching volunteers, that was another thing as far as preparation.
And also with preparation, we've all came up because of the fact that a lot of the events that we offer are every year. So if we know, just to give an example, if we know that pastor anniversary celebration is coming, we can start prepping for that at least 3 months prior to the event, and that is with getting volunteers on board, marketing, and so forth. And so also communication. We can also, well, again, group one just thought that it would be to our advantage to make better use of our conference calls with preparation.
Like we already have leadership in place and we already have teams in place. Why not better utilize the teams that we have? If you know you have a question about anything, then utilize the members of the team that you know that are already in that team. Rather than going around questioning everything, you have a person or a resource that you can go to get the answer.
And lastly, the leadership team. Because we're already in place, we can make use of the operations. We can make use of meeting the needs of the operation from the leadership. So I guess that would be more so just tugging on our leadership team a little bit more, just so things can be implemented and executed better. So just kind of holding our leadership team to more of a higher standard to make sure that things get done.
More accountability.
Okay. All right.
Any questions? Anybody want to add on from team one that I missed, or?
You look like you want to say something.
No, I'm fine. I told him I wasn't going to talk, right? Because I always talk, so it'll be fine. Good job.
Team two?
Weaknesses?
Team two.
Left out of our group. So we had hi everyone.
Hello.
So we had an extensive list, but we just decided to focus on 2 areas. So if what I have not mentioned, if you guys have any suggestions, that would be great. So we talked about the budget. So Pastor informed us that we're going to reduce the budget by 20%. So we talked about when plans or events are already coming for the year, we already know that we're having pastor anniversary or any events that we're having. So to us, it seems like we are not prepared for the money come, budget come, paying it on time. So we was talking about, like, how come we are not planning ahead of schedule. Like if you know Aunt Pastor's anniversary is in April, September and October, we should already be talking about it then. And when January comes, we could hit the ground running, so we could be proactive and not reactive. Y'all like that one? Yeah. And so we also talked about the lack of money in the bookstore. At a time, the bookstore was really generating money, so we got to figure out why and what we can do to get the money back up into the bookstore. We talked about this. We don't know whether this is going to be a yay or a nay, but we talked about baked goods, where some of the ministry, especially some of the children, are doing baked goods, and we have talked about them donating a percentage back to the church to help with the monies going in. We talked about fundraisers. Fundraisers kind of sticky, but what Pastor suggested was that if we could think of an inventive way to do fundraisers, he would be open to that, but that's totally up to you two when you talk. And then, don't kill the messenger, I'm just relating. So then the second topic we talked about was youth. And so the issues we had with youth was not enough volunteers, youth church and youth Sunday school, the effectiveness of midweek, and the teen and young adult drop-offs. So what we suggested was that we would develop a rotation plan for the leadership group. It could be, we have about 50 plus leaders, so that would really be one a year. So we thought that was a good idea. Have a parent chaperone. If you have children that's in the children's group, then they could be a set of parents to chaperone to give the leaders a break. We talked about youth getting involved with the district, because if they're doing something, we're doing something, we both come together, we both can grow in that area. And then we talked about college outreach by having mentors and also having a parents' night out. So that's what we came up with. Any suggestions, any add-ons, any takeaway? Go sit down. I don't know. That's it.
Good job.
All right, group 3, we were talking about the opportunities at the church. One of the things that we brought up in our conversation dealt with sponsoring a event for apartments. Basically like maybe having like a luncheon or something at an apartment complex, or also a community cleanup. Through these events, we could draw people to the church, because we're meeting them where they live. So that's part of building relationships. Collaborate with other churches. We would like to connect with other churches, because there's a lot of churches locally, but we very rarely interact with one another. But if we collaborate, we'll all have the same mission to spread the word of God. So if we collaborate, we can get a bigger crowd, and we're still reaching the community. Corporate involvement. With this, we were speaking of dealing like a luncheon at IBM, specifically going to IBM or Quintel, some of the local businesses, and having these lunch and learns. Like we used to have them at the church, but maybe go where they are. And through this outreach, we may be able to pull some of the corporate people to the church. Because hey, that pastor says some really good stuff during the lunch and learn. Let's see what he has to say on Sunday. Youth ministry, getting the youth involved. One thing that we've learned and we conversed about was youth would draw youth. So youth seeing other youth serving, they'll be able to pull in more youth, therefore making a more active youth ministry. Social media connection. Connecting with social media, making it more personable, then also more specialized. Yes, we have Victoria's Praise on, say, Facebook. Well, let's specialize some Facebook pages as well. One specifically for marriage, specifically for the youth, specifically for the mothers, something that can reach the millennials. As you know, everything is going to social media. Everybody's doing something, whether it be Facebook, MySpace, Snapchat. That's what the millennials, excuse me? MySpace, that's what the millennials, well, anyway, social media. Social media. So, hey, I'm barely a millennial, barely, right here.
AOL dial-up.
Sorry. I'm playing the college club, but anyway.
You got nerve.
Social media. Also, monthly training for volunteers. As it relates to this, when we do the monthly training for volunteers, let it be a specialized training, meaning this particular month we're going to train audio video. The next month we're going to train youth leaders. So when we do volunteer meetings, it'll be a monthly basis, but it's for specific ministries. And lastly, training for the community church builders website. There are a lot of tools on the community builders, but a lot of us don't know how to use them. So those are the opportunities we talked about within the church.
Awesome.
Hey man, that's all right. We'll look further back. Right.
Okay, so we had the opportunity to talk about threats and the SWOT analysis. And two other things that we chose to focus on was utilizing social media as it becoming a threat to churches, but jumping on the other side of it to make sure that as a church, we are up to date with the technology and utilizing those platforms. Frankly speaking, I don't really utilize a lot, so people talk about Snapchat, Twitter, that there's a whole lot of things out there, but what I do know is that I do manage younger folks, and they are on these platforms and they utilize them a whole lot. And I think that that's a great opportunity for the church to make sure that we are constantly reaching the interests of those. For instance, I subscribe to the Bible app, and they have like verse of the day that they send out there. I think those are some of the things that we can actually use as a format and a way to utilize social media. The other thing that we talked about was competition from other churches. And while we do have competition from other churches, for me, being an athlete, I always like to look back at what my fellow athletes are doing. And I shared with my group, like, when I ran in college, my last 2 years in college, I did way better than the first two. And that was realizing what I had to do. It wasn't about training harder. It was about training smarter. After college, I self-trained myself. I ran half marathons, which I never did in my whole life. And I ran better times and was more consistent, simply because once I started to train myself, I figured out what my body needed and how to go about it. So I think that's a great way that we can actually utilize the competition that's around us. It may require us to go inside of some of these churches, sit down with them, visit their campuses, talk to them, see exactly what they're doing. One of the other things that we looked at, which might be for executive leadership, might be a frowned upon, which I'm not sure, but tithes and offering and saving opportunity and time here and there in cutting down the amount of time. I know we talk about people wanting to spend less time in church, and a lot of our competition there are doing that. And it's not necessarily about us watering or diluting the Word of God, but it's about finding these little areas that maybe be time consuming. So if tithes and offering takes up 15 or 20 minutes of the Sunday morning experience, then people might see that as an opportunity that we might need to get better at. Some people might just shut down and we lose them altogether. So they might be tending to go to these other areas where they spend less time in these areas and thus move the service faster. It doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to pick up and do everything that they do, because what we have to do is to make sure that whatever we're picking out is a fit with our organizational structure. So that is something that we'll need to look at. Did I miss anything, Group 4? All right. Thank you.
Awesome job, guys. I thought that was phenomenal. I think the suggestions and feedback was tremendous. And we're going to take that to heart and move forward with our ministry. So thank you all again for taking that time to share that with us. I'm hoping this will pop up. Awesome job, guys. I thought that was phenomenal. Okay. I don't know why that's doing that. I know, and I don't know why. Praise Jesus. Oh, I think I need to cut off. I thought I put it on silent, and I probably did, and it's probably working. But let me just shut it down altogether. There we go. All right, so a couple of things real quick. No, we don't have a picture. Okay, so we introduced this new structure to you all on last year. Just wanted to quickly review it, tell you all what we've been doing for the past year. Essentially, in my trying to become a better leader and a better servant, and so on and so forth, one of my goals is always get better. So that idea about forward, striving towards perfection, how do we do this better? And one of the things that I learned was I needed to kind of decentralize some of the work that I do personally. It's a long haul. I think it's going to take a minute. Sometimes you have to be patient in planting a seed to let it actually grow. You know, like you look at the seed every day. When you going to do something? Hey, what's going on? When come and get no watermelons yet? You know, leave it alone and just keep doing your thing. So there have been a moniker of success, not really what I was expecting by this time, but we're going to stick with it. I believe it's the right area. A lot of other people have done it. We've researched it. And so what we did was we took our ministry to focus on 3 areas specifically. And those 3 areas being marketing, operations, and finance. Marketing, operations, and finance. That an organization has to have somebody running those other than the CEO or the visionary. And didn't quite get to where we wanted. I would have liked to have had people working in these areas full time, but as you already heard, we have some budgetary constraints in which we're going to have to cut even more. And therefore, what we did was we did some part-time and some volunteers. And so we're soldiering through that with the expectations that those seeds are going to flourish. But sometimes you have to take a step backwards to go forward. So at any rate, they are in place. We're going to share a little bit. We're going to hear from them as to how things are going, what we've accomplished in this past year. So we're going to start with marketing, which is being headed up by Tanisha. Then we're going to go into operations from Tamika, and then finance, which is probably going to be, I don't know, Jamelia or Yvette. They're kind of transitioning each other, so we'll figure out how that's going to work. So if you will look at it, so I showed you kind of, let me go back one slide first. If you look at marketing, marketing pretty much consists of the digital person, the graphic artist, the multimedia specialist, and this here is kind of a combination of Algernon and DeAndre, plus we have some, not interns, but we do have an intern, consultants that work for us and do a lot of work. A lot of work has been done in this area, which we'll be able to show you. There are some great things. Some of you probably have seen them. In the operations, in finance, we are working with our CPA firm. They're actually going to take a bigger role in 2018 than they did in 2017 to help us meet some metrics that we've got to meet. So we're actually going to bring them on even more in terms of what the CPA firm is going to be doing for us. And we will still have our team, but for the most part, we're going to push a lot more towards them into managing our finances for us. And finally, operations. That's pretty much what if you think about the executive team, and each one of them has a ministry, praise and worship, all of that falls under operations. How do we operate our church, our organization? And so all of these things are there. So let's talk to marketing. Tanisha's going to come and share with us about our marketing efforts. I may interject, but if you could stand right up in here, darling, so I can get you on the screen, I'd appreciate it.
This afternoon now. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Tanisha White, for those that don't know my name. Got a couple different roles in the church, but primarily I work in the capacity of marketing director. Today, we're going to talk to you about just a few things, high level, some things that we've worked on related to marketing efforts, give you a little bit of feedback, and then talk a little bit about going forward. So what we've accomplished. We did some changes to the website. We've improved the search engine optimization, as well as created 2 different new member and visitor surveys. So for changes to the website, we improved the bounce rate. So for those that don't know what the bounce rate is, anytime you go to a website, if you're looking around and you don't see anything that interests you, and you just go to another website, or you click off of it, or you stay on it for a long period of time, and you manipulate different parts of the search bar, that's called the bounce rate. If you go off quickly, if you stay on, if you get more information, it tells us how useful our site is in terms of the user experience. We decrease the amounts of coding errors on the website. So if you ever go to a website and you click on a page, or you use the search and you go to contact us, nothing comes up. That means there's probably a coding error on the back end. So we've used some consultants to help us clean that information up. And now our website is a lot more user-friendly. I've been with the ministry now for about 2 years. I remember when I first visited the website after my kids joined the daycare, I kind of was confused. I didn't feel like the pages were easy to manipulate. I didn't know what was happening, and a lot of people obviously felt that way based off bounce rates and other different types of research that we conducted. So it's a lot more user-friendly. The fonts match. YouTube, there's a lot of different things that we've created on the website, and that's not by coincidence or by accident. It's by different research that we've conducted, and so now you see that. The search engine optimization. So when you go to or better known as SEO, when you go to Google and you do a search for churches near me, or black churches, or Kojic, or whatever you put in, what pops up in the first 5, first 10, first couple of pages is not by accident either. It's by study. So Pastor created these different words, or these different key phrases, and our marketing consultants helped us to manage that. So whenever you see us, we want you to go to social media and like our page, or check in from church. All of that improves our search engine optimization, because it's telling Google or whatever Bing or whatever site that people are frequenting this site. So all of that is not by accident. So please continue to share and post and like our pages and different things of that sort.
So quick anecdotal information towards that. When we first started this process, we weren't in the top 10 pages when you search for churches in Durham, which was shocking to me, because I thought we had a pretty progressive church and that we were pretty much well known, and but we weren't in the top 100. So we weren't literally, if you search for churches in Durham or near me, we didn't show up in the top 100. Within this year in our efforts, we are probably somewhere between number 5 or number 7 on page 1. And that happened through these efforts. And oh, by the way, and to continue with the anecdotal, we are getting more and more, which I'll share with you on next Saturday, people saying that's how they found us. So now you see, if they went to the website, but all they saw was World Overcomers, Summit Church, this and that, but they didn't see Victorious Praise, guess who they're going to go check out? And there you go. So that's why it became imperative, and now we are showing up consistently on page 1. So that was very good work there.
So that's what this one refers to, just the different search engines and where we appear. The first survey we created was SurveyMonkey. So people would go to, so I would send them a link. People would go to SurveyMonkey. It would come up SurveyMonkey and then the website. It was just generic. It said Survey Monkey, and it just asked a couple, like, what do you like about Victoria's Praise? So the questions weren't necessarily generic, but the formatting of it was, and so people really didn't get to feel our culture as Victoria's Praise. They were just thinking that they were just answering some questions for Survey Monkey. So the next survey we had created is it's called Typeforms, and it's a little more user-friendly. So when they go to the website, it's our logo, it's a purple page, it helps with the branding, and it helps the user experience something like, oh, this is nice. The same experience that they got in church is now the same experience that they're gonna receive when they go to the Typeform of the Survey Monkey. So this is what it looks like. So it's kind of small, but, so you see the first page, it's our logo, and one is again for visitor, and then there's another one that's for the new member. It asks questions, so it's got pictures of, question, or, so again, it's user friendly. It asks you, what's your age, what's your gender, would you recommend the church to a friend or family member? Most people were in the 7 to 10. Yes, they would be more likely to recommend it to a church or family member. And from research, that's how most people come to the church, by friend or family member, and now also by social media because they've seen it so many times.
There are some links, I think, to these, and I'll try to show you all a couple of some of this information here, and I'll let you go back and speak to the analysis part. But I think I can click on it. Let me see. Okay.
Well, I don't know. You use a Mac. I don't know. Anybody know?
Oh, it's not showing. Hold on. Yeah, see, that's what that was my concern. I'll just run you through the two real quick. If you want to talk to them, I won't really do them all, but.
All right, so this one is just a visitor survey. So this is what the user experience is. So you click, give your feedback. It says 2 minutes, but it doesn't. So see, the next one is just telling you, how did you hear about this from a family or friend, and then you would rate it. The next one says, one thing that we can do to make your experience better, what would that be? Most people chose 10, so sometimes they don't answer this question. But if you wanted to put something, you could say, I don't know, I'll use his example, maybe the tithes and offerings took too long, so let's just say that. And then enter. What gender are you? Male. Which, from last year, I'm just gonna say this really quick, most of the new members and visitors were females. Now, it's changed, so a lot of men are visiting. Married or single, and then enter. So, once they do that, they're gonna click here, and they actually get a free ebook download.
This was something else that we added because we wanted to give them an incentive. And so now, and this is all again going back to our website, people are given an opportunity to get our latest ebook.
Right, so now that, in addition to getting something, we now have their contact information, and we can include them in our database, so when we send out emails to, massive emails, this is what's going on with the church, or a pastor sends out, some sermon notes, or what have you, then they're also gonna be included in the information that we send, and then it might trigger them, oh yeah, I forgot, let me go back and visit them. Oh yeah, they're having winter revival, let me go get a fresh word. So again, people come to church because church is like a hospital. Damaged soul, bad relationship, kids, whatever the situation may be. So you're gonna come, and then what? You get our culture, you get a relevant word. So that's why marketing is not just, the website or just graphics. It's us. It's our how we present ourselves to people as they come in the doors, or how we present our church to people out in the public.
Can you see that?
Tell us about your needs. Oh, so this is the second part. So would you like to, would you like more information about the church? Do you want to become a Christian? Would you like a meeting with the pastor? So it also gives them another chance to select one, and then I'll get an email, or our church administrator will get an email and say, I would like to meet with pastor, or I would be interested in receiving sermon notes, or I'm interested in, in after school care, or whatever the case may be. And then that email is then passed on to that department head, and then that person can contact this person, and even if they're just a visitor, and follow up and give them more information on whatever area it is that they're interested in. And then here's where you select Kindle, ebook, or PDF, so it's not just one. You can select how you want to receive it. You can download it right there from the page, or you can save it to your desktop or, file or what have you, and then you can continue to have it and print it out, whatever, so, you always have something to go back and reference. And then each time Pastor does a new series, then that information is added to the website or to this survey, and they get the latest ebook. So, even if they've done it before, they come back and visit again. If they do the survey again, they're going to get another ebook.
This was the results.
This one,
That's the results.
So, the results of it. So, as you can see, 13 people completed the survey. So 13 and 13, so that's great. So everybody completed the survey that received it. Number one was Pastor Preached the Good Words. That's 77%. Two is others, and they could have said, they could have wrote something down. Community involvement, praise and worship, family atmosphere. None of those were the reasons why. Friend or family, as you see. Internet search, so those are the top two, or other also. So that gives us a demographic of how they heard about us. And then how likely are you to recommend this to a friend or family? Most people chose 10. But then there's some people that chose 3 or 4. That doesn't necessarily mean that we did anything wrong. Maybe they're just not talkative, or maybe they just didn't have anything good to say one way or the other, so they just selected that particular item. See, male, 62% are male. Before it used to show female. And then the demographics have changed in terms of it being an older population. 54% are between the ages of 50 and 64, but then 23%, 26, and then most single people, 69%. So the survey gives us a lot of good data that you can actually go into. There's different websites and different tools that you can use to analyze those type of things and tell us more about our ministry. It helps us to know what areas we should market more. Should we do more social media? Should we do more member engagement? And that sort of thing. So, so then the analysis of, when you look at, compare, just 2 little quick highlights that I chose. People visit as a result of family, friend, or social media, and then they join because the pastor preached a good word. So we already know what we're good at. Okay, so some feedback. We did, so there's real versus digital marketing. There's highly marketed events versus regular marketing events. Regular marketing events would just be regular service. So real versus data, marketing data. It's an actual form that we use to track the website on our track digital data on our website comparison to actual numbers of people that come to our service. It's proven that if you have so many people to your website, should interpret conversion-wise so many people to come to your church. Now, that also depends on if you're getting new visitors or if you're getting the same visitors coming. Sometimes people just go to service every day on church. On the internet, just go, versus some people, they come for the first time. So this is the conversion thing that we use to track the attendance. It showed that March and then May through August, the attendance was down on the website as well as in person. Highly marketed events, we did a parent appreciation in March. We had 438 people, 17 visitors. Visitor appreciation, we did that in April. We had 439 people and 29 visitors. Pastor would love if we had 439 visitors on one service. 894 people registered for the block party that we have, but it rained. So a lot of people, I believe all these people would have came had it not rained. But let's see, so 359 people actually came to the service that day. So the comparison between highly marketed events versus events that really didn't have any marketing. As you see, in March, we had 386 people that showed up and then 6 visitors. Okay, if you look at the March for the highly marketed event, 438 and then the 386. Same thing with visitor appreciation. Perhaps we're going too fast. But anyway, so yes, that means hurry up. So basically, people like to feel appreciated. So for going forward, my thing would be, next slide, So looking at the different, the comparison of that. So the marketing focus, how, and then the results. Member engagement. So people like to feel appreciated, right? Everybody, we all like to feel like we're important, like we matter, like we're a part of something. Retention. So member engagement and retention go hand in hand. So talking to each other. checking on people. If you haven't seen them for a while, the leaders don't always know, but everyone else knows. People know each other. Reach out to someone if you hadn't seen them in a while. Find out what's going on. Are they sick? Is something going on in their family life? Maybe they just need prayer. Maybe they're having a hard time, and then we can encourage them, pray for them, and then encourage them to come back to church. And then community involvement, interactions. Again, talking about our church whenever we go to the grocery store, passing out flyers in the neighborhood. I mean, sometimes I just leave flyers in shopping carts because, again, people are going to come in and then look. We pay for them, we may as well pass them out. So how? I kind of already told you how, but birthday acknowledgments is something that I want to start doing again. I know everybody's birthday. We can just create a slide, one slide, and like a happy birthday song or something, maybe during offering. And then I've had somebody say that they'll let us get some cupcakes on our birthday. And then the life groups, more touches from visitors and members, so maybe more people for involvement from the members. Wanda, I know you won't listen. Okay. More evangelism events. Denise and I talked last year about doing more evangelism events, going out, standing in front of grocery stores, just talking to people or what have you. We didn't make enough time for that last year, but we will definitely make time for that this year. More Facebook Live segments. Just like Pastor does, him and Dr. Grace, it doesn't necessarily have to be an hour, but it could be just 5 minutes of power or an encouraging word or something, because other churches are doing it. So we just have to make sure that our presence is always being more dominant. As a result of that, that's going to increase the number of volunteers. It's going to make people stay more active and be present and involved. And then, of course, increase the visitors, and then that's going to translate over to more members and more souls being saved. Anybody have any questions for me?
Great job.
All right, good afternoon. So we're going to talk about operations at a very high level. Because as you see, operations took up a whole separate page. So operations covers lots of different things. For 2017, we had 416 visitors, 81 new members. Our average attendance was 353. Our average Bible study attendance, which is a new metrics that we're starting to monitor, because we all noticed that Bible study attendance is just down. So in order for us to project towards something, we have to know where we start. So this year is the first full year that we're tracking Bible study attendance. And right now we're at 104 average on a given Wednesday. And children's church, we average about 40 kids in children's church. So these are some of the changes. Can you see that? Am I blocking it?
Yeah, we can.
Okay, some of the changes that we did this year, we introduced the MyVPF app. How many people use the app? Okay, so next year when I say how many people use the app, it should be 100%, right? Right? Because everybody's on their phones. So one of the things that we were trying to do is to appeal to people that are always on their phone. Who writes checks? Who still writes checks? Oh, let me put my hand down. I can't even find my checkbook most of the time. But if I'm busy or I'm doing something, I can always go to the app and give. So there's no excuse for giving. How many people like to travel? Okay, but when you travel, guess what? The lights still got to be paid at the church. Yeah. So you can always go to the app and give your offerings, give your tithes on the app. So that was a great thing, and this actually, Pastor was very instrumental in developing the app. So that increased our online giving. Tanisha already went through the online visitor survey, and also our VIP visitor treatment. So Tanisha said we all like to be treated well. So, you know, Pastor, when we have visitors, he lets them stand up. They get to walk down the middle of the aisle with him, go to the back. They get to meet Pastor and First Lady, who was one of our strengths, right? Because people like our Pastor and First Lady. So when you allow them the opportunity to speak with them, they feel special. They feel like they've been treated well. And then our hospitality is great because they greet them at the door, and then they're greeting them again, and then they're giving them a cookie, some snacks, a little goodie bag, and a gift. So that was something that we did to try to just make our visitors feel special. Life groups is another thing that we did operationally. With ministry changing and the way people do church changing and the growth of churches, we had to find a way to connect with people. And we've tried all types of things, and it's not all gonna work 100% of the time. But life groups was a way that we could kind of engage and also compete with what the world is offering. So the world offers all these great things, and they're excited about it. So we said, well, what do people do outside of church? Do they like to cook? Do they like to shop? Do they like to do Zumba? Do they want to know about their finances? So we created life groups that will also minister to the whole man and figured people can come together on that level. We had tons of renovations at the church. The floors look great. You know, you come in, nice little floors. All of these things, because who wants to go to a church that looks bad? I know when I walk in church, I'll be like, oh, okay, I'm not gonna sit in that chair. But there's some things that we've done to make our facility look better, so it will help with the experience that people have when they visit. Floors, there's some changes to the stage, the parking lot. Someone mentioned earlier about how much time we spend on tithes and offerings. Well, we've taken an intentional look at how much time we spend during the service. So we're not just up there just free-flowing. There's been intentional things that have been cut back to try to decrease the service time without watering down the content. We're not gonna change the word, we're not gonna quench the spirit, we're not gonna stop First Lady from running around church when she wanna run around the church. We're not gonna do that. But we are trying to be more intentional about how we spend our time, and how many have noticed that the times have gotten a lot shorter. It's extremely noticeable. We changed, the biggest thing was our service times, which just happened in December. And I think we still have to get the word out, because I think some people are still showing up at 10 o'clock for service. Because we have visiting members, those members that visit every 3 months and didn't know to change times. So we changed services to 8 a.m., 10:30, and we're now having 5 o'clock service on every Sunday, which is new, except for holidays or when Pastor has a speaking engagement. And I'm done.
Thank you. Awesome.
I'm going to start off. So Jamilia's a little nervous because this is her first time presenting, so let's all make her feel welcome.
I switched the order on you.
Good. Oh, okay. All right. So last year the finances are reflected here. So we did about almost 1.2 million in revenues on the church side.
Awesome.
And that was a lot of tithes and offering, no bean pies, no that kind of stuff. So that's just the generosity of the people. For the revenues, this year we actually came in under. So expenses. We came in under, so we did have a profit on the church side. For the CDC finances, we did not make $1 million in revenues. However, we did go over
$1 million in expenses.
on the expense side. So when Jamelia talks, she may mention some. So some of the challenges that we've had as far as how the revenues and the expenses look. So even though the CDC had more expenses than revenues, of course, the church stepped in and supported. So it's not like we're going under as an organization as a whole. So just keep that in mind. So one of the reasons the CDC finances are down is because the after-school grant that we had was cut. So each time that it's cut, then that means that we don't get that amount of revenues, and we have not really focused or found a way to recoup those revenues. So this year we'll focus a little bit more on other grant opportunities. This is the appropriate place for fundraising on the CDC side and not on the church side, as we discussed. So going forward, in order to mitigate some of the challenges that we had in 2017, Jamelia will talk about some things that we have in place, moving forward.
So the goal this year on the church side for our revenues is $1.2 million, with tithes and offerings. And so our goal for saving this year is we're planning to set aside 10 to 20% of our Sunday revenues. So that's actually like $120,000 to $240,000 that we would save for the year. And as far as our plans go, Pastor already mentioned that we're doing 20% cuts across the board. So that's all ministry cuts. So you all help with that. When you're planning your budgets and your activities for the year, just kind of be mindful of what we spent last year, we won't spend this year. So like, I normally plan Victory Mountain. I actually did a 50% cut on our budget for Victory Mountain to start looking at that. So if we could all just start looking at maybe a 20% cut on what you were doing last year versus this year. Event budgets are needed 30 to 60 days in advance. So especially for those that you all spoke about that we do every year, you all should know that we should be talking to each other about what your budgets are and what your needs are going to be 30 to 60 days in advance. So when Pastor spoke about our CPAs taking a more active role, they're actually, what we'll be doing is uploading check requests and bills and those types of things to them. They'll put those in the system. So we need everyone to start adhering to the check processing system. So the checks are always processed on Wednesday. On Wednesdays. But we need your check request submitted in completion the Wednesday before. So what that means is if you have to have it signed by an executive leader, that needs to be done, because if it's not done, it won't be processed. So I get a lot of papers that are just thrown in there and nobody signed off on it. I don't even know if anyone has looked at it. It's been approved, yes ma'am. So we do need all of that done the week before. I meet with Pastor every Tuesday and I go over the budgets with him. So if you submit it on Wednesday, I have time to talk to him. He says yay or nay, and then I have time to process your check. Yes, ma'am.
So this going forward, in case you have some that right now, we start here.
I work with you.
Very good. So we have about 7 minutes, 10 minutes or so to wrap up. But I hope that you all have gotten something out of this experience. You understand your church, you understand your role in it. I certainly appreciate your participation here today. Before I finish, my special assistant, Harry Jones, wants to come and talk to you all about shepherd support, and then I will close out and talk to you all about VPF support. All right?
Good afternoon, everyone. All right, so for the next 2-3 months, actually for the next 3 months, you'll see my face, Elder Richard, and Elder Brooks' face a whole lot in reference to the pastoral anniversary. This year is our 20th anniversary, so we're coming up on a major milestone. So we want to make sure that we actually go above and beyond showing our love and support for our great leaders. What I wanted to talk to you guys about today was, how do we support our leaders? One of the, or maybe I should ask the group, what is the number one way that we support our leaders as leaders? All right. So I heard the number one way that we as leaders show support for our leaders is through our prayer. Our prayer is very, very vital to what God is doing as God gives him the vision, as we are used within the vision. Our prayers are very, very vital and necessary for the ministry. Secondly, our presence. Our presence is very needed for the ministry as well, because if we're not physically there, or our presence are not there, or we're not accountable, then why are we in a leadership role? So we have to ask ourselves and question ourselves, am I leading out as Pastor would have us to lead out? So our presence are very vital. And then thirdly, is what you, the one that I'm gonna actually home in on is our financial support. When the anniversary comes up, our financial support is, it kicks up to a whole nother level. We do, and I'll talk about this in just a minute, our pastoral support commitments that we do every Wednesday, but that's on a weekly basis, which we started doing a few years back. But on a yearly basis, our financial support is very vital and necessary when it comes to the anniversary. And the reason why ours as leaders is very vital and necessary is because we lead out. Our goal as leaders is to get the other 80% of the church involvement within the pastoral support or pastoral anniversary. So as leaders, if we're not leading out in support, and that goes right back to our Wednesday nights with the shepherd support, if they're not having us, if they don't see us leading out, then they're not going to follow us. They see pastor and first lady from the pulpit, but if they don't see the leaders leading out, they're not going to follow us. And we're losing people by the wayside when we don't do that. So as leaders, my encouragement is to you guys, number one is when we do these, and today I'm going to pass these out, our commitment letters. Every year we redo our commitments to our shepherds. Elder Richard is asking every leader and member to do at least $25 every week. If you're not at the level where you can do $25, then we have an other. So, I mean, we're not leaving anyone out. You're not losing the opportunity to be a blessing to our leaders. So what we want to do from the leadership portion, though, is this. We want to have 100% participation from our leadership team. So as a leader, it shouldn't be that we look at these forms here and your name or you're not accounted for within these forms. As leaders, we want to lead out. So I don't care if you can't do nothing but $1. If you can't do 25 cents, then at least be accountable. And that way we know that we have your support as leaders within the ministry. So today we're going to pass these around. I'll go ahead and have them start passing around. If you guys can fill these out and get them back to me today. So everybody in here, we should have 100% of the people in here today to get those forms back to me today with whatever God has given you to sow into the man and woman life. And we kicked it off last Wednesday, but we're really going to hit home on it this Wednesday. All right, so now to go into the pastoral anniversary. All right, tomorrow's going to be a big day for us when it relates to the pastoral anniversary. Tomorrow's going to be our launch day of the ticket sales. This year we're actually doing the anniversary the banquet is on April the 14th. It's going to be at the Durham Convention Center. It's going to be a black tie affair. With that being said, our ticket price for the anniversary is $50 for adults and $30 for kids. All right, what are we asking from the leaders? We're asking every leader to do everything in your effort to be at the banquet. All right, so if you wanted to look at budgeting, if you look at budgeting each month, if you save $16.67, you would be able to attend the banquet. But what I would say to you is this. If there's any leader that is not financially able to go to come to the banquet, if you come and see myself, then we'll figure out a way to make it happen.
Oh, you're going to pay for the ticket?
We're going to figure it out. And the way we're going to figure it out is that I'm going to give you a budget plan. But, I mean, seriously, my heart, Elder Richard, Elder Brooks' heart is that for everybody to come in and show their love and support for our great leaders. With that being said, with the anniversary, as y'all know that Elder Brooks let the cat out the hat or the dog out the box or whatever. So we all know that Bishop Wooden is actually going to be our guest speaker. So with that being said, one of our goals is for every church in the district to actually purchase a table. We're going to present this to the district. So with that being said, our tickets are probably going to go very quickly. Okay? So tomorrow when we kick off our ticket sales, if everybody, all the leaders could go ahead and purchase their tickets if you're able to purchase your tickets on tomorrow when we launch the ticket sales. We have a booth set up outside the service, after the 8 o'clock service and after the 10:30 service.
It's online, correct?
Yeah, it will be online also, but it won't be available until tomorrow, so don't look for it today.
Don't forget to mention that we want the leaders to, we need the leaders to try to get their tickets either the first, if they can't do the first week, the second week, or the
Correct.
third week.
What we want to do, okay, the pastoral anniversary, we want it to be a self-sufficient event. Okay, with that being said, we want to pull as less money away from the church as possible. So if we get all of the leaders to go ahead and purchase their tickets within the first 2 weeks, then a lot of the financial stuff that we need to handle in the background, like the facility, food, and things of that nature, we can go ahead and handle that stuff and not be pulling on the church. I know Jamelia and Yvette, they owe me about, well, Harry, out of this, out of that. So I'm like, look, I just need this right now. We're going to get the money.
We don't have a money tree.
But, I mean, but at the end of the day, if we as leaders step up and we go ahead and get our tickets, then we won't have to pull on them on the church side. We can actually do it, pushing it ourselves. So, with that being said, our goal for ticket sales this year is 400 tickets. Mother, you can talk to me. But with that being said, our goal is 400 tickets. That's a very aggressive number. Now, over the last, I say 3 to 5 years, we have been averaging from 250 to 275 people. So if you want to look at it from a perspective of how many people we need to get extra, 125 people from what we normally do. But at the end of the day, if we get more of our leaders, we got a big head start from there. And then the rest of the church will see us and they will follow suit with us with that. Anyone have any questions in reference to the anniversary? Ticket sales, the launch of the ticket sales. Our theme is 1 Timothy 5:17. I'm not going to read it, but just to get it into your spirit. That's our theme for this year. Well, I was trying to save time. I was trying to save a minute. Okay, so the theme is let the elders that rule be rule well. I'm sorry, Lord Jesus. Let the elders that rule well be counted worthy of double honor, especially they who labor in the word and doctrine. All right. So, also to go along with the, this is my last thing and I'm going to close out. The last thing to go with the anniversary for that Sunday. Elder Richard is going to ask all of the leaders, the lay members, everybody to bring a love offering on that Sunday. All right. The way that we're going to do it this year is we're going to have 3 tiers. We're going to have a platinum, gold, and silver level. Silver level. So what we're asking the leaders to do, at least be within that goal. If you are financially able to be within the goal, I don't know what the number is going to be yet, but he will actually present that to the church. But I know platinum is normally what the highest of what we normally give as senior executives is $1,000 or more. So if you're able to do that, then we will ask you to join us with that as well. I know for myself, my goal is to be a blessing of $2,018 in reference to the youth. So that's what I'm in prayer for, to sow into their lives this year. So I would ask you to join me and be in prayer of what you can actually give this year in reference to the anniversary. All right, with that being said, let's bring our great leader back up. Pastor Superintendent Will Nichols.
Thank you, guys. All right, we're ready to go home. Grace, you can come up with me as we close out. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to finish all of this up next Saturday at 1 p.m. The goal is to get it done in 90 minutes. So whatever plans you have for next Saturday, we are going to hopefully wrap up. And the reason why we have to do this is because here's what we haven't done. Just so that you all know, we presented the picture. We've looked at some of our issues. We've told you what we've done for 2017. We've shown you how things are operating. But what we haven't done is giving you the strategy for the vision. And so what that requires is us to go through a process of understanding our 10-year goal, our 3-year outlook, our 1-year plan, and our next 90-day, what we call ROCs. And so that process is imperative if you're going to move forward. And so every year you have to go through that experience each time, because you got to learn from the previous year. Because, you know, I set some plans last year. I was expecting to have like $1 million saved up by now. Okay, y'all can work it with me. Good. You know, but, you know, I was sharing with the executives, you got to understand the times you live in, your current reality. It's not that you're losing faith in what God has given you, but as Paul said, and I think one of the leaders brought this out, the time will come when people will not endure sound doctrine. Therefore, y'all just quit, give up, and go home. Exactly. Therefore, just stop all that preaching and all that church stuff. You know, with all this green leaf and everybody leaving and going here and doing all that kind of stuff. Let's just call it quits. No. The point is, all right, you gonna hear me like that? Okay, all right. No. So y'all don't remember what was that? Della Reese. Oh, you gonna shoot me in the pinky toe? Yeah. Oh, that's what you gonna do? That's how you gonna treat me, Della Reese. Oh, you gonna shoot me in my pinky toe, huh? She said, you don't know me. She put a whooping on him. So at any rate, that's our goal, that's our job. So we're gonna get this knocked out next week. Then we'll be in position to present it to the rest of our church. So, Dr. Grace, closing words, and we're going to pray and go home. Y'all don't have to go home. You need to be in church tomorrow, though. You got to be out here by 3 o'clock. But go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
There's a attendance sheet going around. I want to make sure everybody signed the attendance sheet with your email address, because some leaders said they did not receive the email, so I want to make sure you're on the leadership distribution. And I'm missing one sheet, so if you just supply and pass it around.
And I want to get a group picture before y'all leave, too. I know some people that had to leave early. We're going to get a group picture over there on the wall or something. But Dr. Grace, and we're going to close in prayer.
We can all stand. Yes. And as you're standing, I'm just so thankful to be a part of this great quorum of leaders. Pastor and I love you all dearly. I think Elder Whitley and Sister Taronda Whitley coined it so perfectly today. You know, they said, First Lady, we're family. And that's what it is. We are a big family. Now, we're a small nucleus of the larger picture. We're the core. And if you know, the core is kind of like the heart. The rest of the body cannot do without the heart. However, the heart has a tremendous responsibility. The heart has to be pure. The blood has to be flowing to the heart. All the organs have to be working in order for the heart to be healthy. And the requirements for the heart being healthy is what you feed the body. That's what flows in and out of your heart. So with that in mind, let us be fervent. Let us be faithful. Let us be committed to what God has entrusted us with. He's given us much, and I tell you, I'm leaving full. I came with my plates empty, and I desire to hear the vision of our leader, because even in the women's ministry, we don't make a move until we get the vision. And then once we get the vision, then we come together and we put our action items based upon the vision of our leader. So now, on the 27th, we have our women's committee meeting. We will be able to now come up with a plan based upon the vision that our pastor's given us. So I want to close with this. I want us to look at the person next to us, and I want you to say, fellow leader, I need you to survive. Fellow leader, I'm counting on you to help me survive. Fellow leader, if I fall,
real quickly, Tanisha, Earl, Stephen, who else we got? Omar, let's see, Cynthia, Wanda, Michelle, and Cassandra. Each one of you, I'll give me about a 1-minute prayer, and you're gonna go just in that order as we close out. Grab hands. It don't matter. Wherever you are. Touch her. Oh, y'all good. I'm doing too much. Go ahead, darling. In that order. Just pray.
Father, in the name of Jesus, I thank you for this gathering today, God. I thank you for these leaders coming together to do your will, Lord God. I thank you for the family that you have instilled in each one of us, God. I thank you for our hearts, Lord God. I thank you for our First Lady and our pastor, God. I thank you for our bishop that covers us as well, God. I thank you for every leader in this room, God. And I just ask that you continue to bless us, God. Continue to strengthen us, God. Continue to bring us together, Lord God, as family in unity, God. Seeking your word, Lord God. Seeking your will to be done, God. Not our will, but your will, God. In Jesus' name, I just thank you, and I ask that you continue to cover us, God. Continue to guide us, Lord God. In our homes, in our marriages, God. In our families, with our friendships. In Jesus' name.
Father, we just thank you right now for another successful leadership retreat. We thank you, Lord, for getting us all here safely. Father, we thank you for our leaders, our pastor, our first lady. Lord, we ask you to cover our pastor right now. In the name of Jesus. He's on this road to recovery for his healing, oh God. We just Lord, that he will not overexert himself, oh God. We what he's supposed to do, oh God. So we can have him here a lot longer to do his job that you called him to do. Father, we ask you to bless every leader in this place, every man, woman, and child, every family member, oh God. We are our family, oh God, outside of our family back in Durham, oh God. So Father, we just ask you to bless all of us, Lord, that we come closer together, that we grow closer together, that we work closer together, in Jesus' name. And we become one as a family, not just church as usual, but a family designed to do what you called to do, in the name of Jesus.
Lord God, we thank you for this gathering together, Lord God, in your name, God. Lord God, we give you all the honor, praise, and glory, Lord God. We're going forward in 2018, Lord God. Take it by storm, Lord God. We have the power of the Holy Ghost, Lord God. And God, you've been telling me about being obedient, Lord God. Let's be obedient in this season, Lord God. So we have reached the harvest, Lord God, that we have in store for us, Lord God. Because we love you, God. We lift up Pastor Will Nichols and Grace Nichols. That it'll continue, Lord God, allow the light of God go through their lives, Lord God, allow it to keep changing us, Lord God, that we can keep having our minds transformed by renewing of our mind, and we're thinking on this good thing, which is the word of God, and we're going to act it out this year. We're going to be all that God has called us to be, not selfish, not for our selfish gain, but being all together, one body, working together, and covering the blood of Jesus Christ. In Jesus' name.
Oh, shut up.
God, and the wisdom, oh God, to lead, oh God, that you may be glorified in our works and our deeds, oh God, that you decrease us so that you may increase, oh God. Father, we just praise you, oh God, we ask that you gather, that we may become a light, oh God, that shines in the community, oh Lord God, that you, Lord God, your kingdom, oh God, your image, oh God, may be glorified, oh God. Father, I thank you for each and every one of us, oh God, that is committing our time, oh God, that is sacrificing, oh God, our lives for you, Lord God, for your work, Lord God, that we come together in unity, oh God, and like-minded, oh God, and Christ-minded, oh God, in the name of Jesus, Lord God. Father, we thank you for the leaders that you have given us, Lord God, that is a true example of you, Lord God. May you continue, oh God, to replenish them, Lord God, to strengthen them, Lord God. Father, we thank you, oh God, for sending them into the nations, Lord God. We will not be stingy, oh God, but we thank you, oh God, that you will share, oh God, their rightness in you, Lord God, and their humbleness, Lord God, in the name of Jesus, Lord God. Now, Father, as we go back, oh God, may we show, Lord God, and exercise, oh God, all that we learn, oh God, all that we gain, Lord God, that you may be glorified, oh God. We thank you and we praise you in Jesus' name.
Father God, we come to you as humble as we know how. We thank you and we praise you, Father God, for getting us all here safely. We thank you for us all being family, Father God. Father God, we thank you for our leaders who are such awesome and wonderful examples of what the true embodiment of marriage should be in Christ. We thank you, Lord. We praise you. We lift them up as high as we can, Father God. Let us be a blessing to the man and woman of God, that we are able to be in position to be servant as and to do as we should, not because they asked us to, but because we are required to, in the name of Jesus. Father God, we thank you and we praise you. We hope that everyone gets home safely as we travel down these dangerous highways and byways, Father God. Keep us in your perfect peace. Cover our vehicles from the front to the back to the side, Father God, in the name of Jesus. And may when we return, we share all knowledge that we gathered today with the other leaders who were not able to attend. Help us to relay the message effectively so that they're more encouraged, that they're more engaged, and that we just have an awesome and more powerful leadership in 2018, Father God. And as this being the monumental year, 20 years, we are expecting a greatness above and beyond 2017, Father God. And we lift you up, we praise you. There's no one like you, God. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Hallelujah, God. We come before you, God, giving your name the glory, oh God. Hallelujah, God. We just glorify you today, oh God. Hallelujah, God. We want to give your name the glory, oh God. Hallelujah, God, because this meeting is about you, oh God. Hallelujah, God. We just want to glorify you, oh God. Hallelujah, God. We thank you for a successful leadership retreat, oh God. Hallelujah, God. Let us be pumped up and ready to lead the people in victorious praise, oh God. Let us win souls, oh God, in Jesus' name. Hallelujah. Let us hold up our pastor's arms, oh God, in Jesus' name. Oh God, help us to love one another, oh God, in Jesus' name. Oh God, I pray right now, God, that you touch everyone in this room, oh God, right now, oh God. Hallelujah. Give us a new passion, oh God. Hallelujah, God. Give us one love, oh God, and more faithfulness, oh God. Oh God, I pray that you just touch our finances, oh God. Hallelujah. Hallelujah, God. Let us hold up our manservant. Help us to hold up his hands, oh God. Hallelujah. Make the burden light, oh God, in Jesus' name. Hallelujah, God. Cover us in your blood, oh God. Hallelujah, God. Pour more gifts and more anointing to us, oh God, in Jesus' name. God, we love you, God. We're here because we love you, God. We're here because we want to serve, oh God. Oh God, we give our lives to you, oh God. Hallelujah, God. We serve for you, oh God. Hallelujah, God. We want to do your will, God. Hallelujah, God. Touch us right now in Jesus' name. God, I pray right now, God, a covering, oh God. Lord, we love you today, oh God. Hallelujah, God. God, I pray, God, that everyone that has sacrificed, oh God, sacrificed their time and money, oh God, I pray a special blessing, oh God, in Jesus' name. Hallelujah. Pour out a fresh, oh God. Hallelujah, God. God, we thank you, Jesus. Hallelujah. God, I pray. God, I pray a covering,
Father.
Hallelujah. Help us to give, oh God.
Yes.
Give till it hurts, oh God. Hallelujah. Help us to sacrifice, oh God. Hallelujah. Because when we're uncomfortable, oh God, that's when we get your attention, oh God. Hallelujah, God. We love you today, God. We're here at this leadership retreat because we love you, God. We're here at this leadership retreat, oh God, because we love our pastor and first lady, oh God. Hallelujah. God, we're here, God, because we want our church to be successful, God. We're here, God, because we want to win souls, not for ourselves, oh God, but because we want to grow the kingdom. Oh God, touch us right now in Jesus' name. Hallelujah, God, we love you today, God. Cover us, oh God. Cover our going and our coming, oh God. Hallelujah, help us to be bold in you, oh God. Hallelujah. Hallelujah, help us to be bold, oh God. Take the material that we've received today, God, and apply it, not just hear it, God, but let us apply it. Hallelujah, God, and hide it in our hearts. Hallelujah, God, so that we can help those at our church, oh God. Thank you, Jesus. God, hear our prayer. Honor our prayers, God. See our sacrifices, oh God. Hallelujah. And I hope it is pleasing in your sight, God. In Jesus' name.
So, let's give God a good big praise, everybody. Bless the Lord, bless the Lord. As we depart, everybody go to that wall and take a picture. But just thank you guys again for making the sacrifice to come out, to grow as a ministry, and to help us move forward.
Amen.
God bless you. Tall people in the back, please.